Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about the load balancers and how do they work. So here we are going to cover different topics like application load balancer, the listener, and the target group. So we are going to get a lot of information out of this video. So let's get started. So whenever the HTTP request is sent to the application load balancer from a client, which you can see in this diagram over here, the client sent the request to the application load balancer and the load balancer receives the request. And what happens after that is, for each load balancer there has to be a listener. In this case we are using a application load balancer. So the elastic load balancer can be of two types: network load balancer or application load balancer. The network load balancer works at level 4 of the OSI model, but the application load balancer works at level 7. So what is the advantage of using application load balancer is we can do more configurations. We can configure the routing based on the URL or parameters. So that's what we are doing over here. So let's say I want to route based on some conditions in the URL to the EC2 instance. So one thing to note here is we cannot directly specify to which EC2 instance we need to route. We need to specify a target group. So the target group is actually a collection of EC2 instances, but it can also have different things, like it can have a URL or it can be a lambda function. So wherever you want to send the traffic, that destination we can call it as a target group, and it can be things other than the EC2 instance. Okay, so once the request is sent to the load balancer from the client, so it stays there, and by default there has to be a listener, which you can see in the diagram, the one connecting the load balancer and EC2 instance. That's a listener. So a listener has to take the request from ELB and transfer it to the target group. Okay, so once the request reaches the load balancer, the listener will pick it up. There can be two types of listener, like HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, if you want encryption to the data coming from the public network and going to the EC2 instance, you can use a HTTPS listener. So what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS from a configuration standpoint is, if you want to have a HTTPS listener for your load balancer, you need to have a SSL certificate also on the load balancer. So what's a SSL certificate? SSL certificate is used to identify a server and create a encrypted connection. So that certificate is required if you want to use a HTTPS listener. So once you have done that, you have added the certificate, you have configured the HTTPS listener, and the client is sending a request to the ALB or the application load balancer. The listener will pick the request, and if it is a HTTPS listener, it will encrypt that. It will break the connection between the ALB and it will terminate the connection over there, and then it will create a secure connection to the target group, which can be a different URL altogether or the usual EC2 instances. So once the request reaches the EC2 instances, uh, the applications running on the EC2 instances are going to address that. So this is a basic flow of how the request gets transferred from the client to the destination, which is the EC2 instance, or it can redirect from here to a different server altogether. And in the target group, we have to specify the URL of that. So hope you understood the flow of the request when we are using the load balancer. Thank you for watching.